Hey guys and gals, Forbidden here with another Scrolls video analysis. This game I'm playing against a growth player, and this game is really interesting. At the start there are some interesting tactical plays, and as the game goes on, it becomes a really strategic chess match. And what I want you to get out of this game is I want you to understand that when you're playing aggro, I'll define that. Aggro is the player who's trying to kill 3 opponent's idols to end the game. There's always somebody who's trying to go for a kill. Sometimes 2 people are, and it's like a race, but usually there's one guy who's trying to kill their opponent and one guy who is trying to play defense. And what I want you to understand is when you're playing offense, you don't want to kill idols indiscriminately. You need a game plan to kill not only 1, not only 2, but all 3, but 3 of the 5 enemy idols. So you need to decide exactly which idols you want to kill and exactly when if you're going to win playing aggro. And I always play defense. In this game I'm playing defense, and my opponent makes a couple errors, I think, that end up costing him the game as he's not able to finish me off. So this game's pretty interesting. Let's check it out. I'm starting the game now. Battle start. I do that to help sync up the audio with the video. Okay, so at the start of this game there are some interesting tactical plays. Here I just make a mistake. I wasn't going to play anything, but then when I drew the Royal Spearman, I thought, okay, I can, like, protect my guy now. But I didn't think, I didn't think. If he had a Kinfolk Brave, he would be able to run my guy down 1 for 0. And so I took a big risk. I was basically gambling that he did not have a Kinfolk Brave. Although I wasn't thinking in those terms. I just made the play without even thinking at all. But effectively what I did was I gambled that he didn't have a Kinfolk Brave. And what you can see is he doesn't have a Kinfolk Brave, and he doesn't have anything basically to answer my he doesn't have any of the right cards to answer my card, but I still end up getting absolutely nothing out of it. We're exactly at parity at the end of this turn. I kill his guy, he drew a card, and he kills my guy. So we're dead even, and I took a big risk. So that was just a bad play. It's just like real life or anything. If you take a risk, you want there to be a reward. I took a risk and there was no reward, so that was not smart. 2 things to consider, I guess. First one, I discarded a focus because focus is really good in this matchup. I think better than speed, but I didn't have any relentless guys yet in my hand, and I had 2 focus, so I just decided to pitch 1. Give me more options. Potentially I'll use the speed later. And then the second thing to think about was I played a guy into his turn 5 drop, which means if he has I played a 3 toughness guy into Gross turn 5, which means if he has a Kinfolk Veteran, he'll just kill my guy. But the reason why I did that is I realized that essentially Kinfolk Veteran is simply a strong card. Kinfolk Veteran is just a really, really strong card. So you can try to play around it the whole game, but my hand, I didn't have the 4 toughness, spiky, or anything else that lets me kind of mitigate the threat of a Kinfolk Veteran. So I knew at some point, if he had a Kinfolk Veteran, he would just be able to use it to get this 1 for 0. So here he's able to use a Kinfolk Veteran, and it also saves his Wolfman's attack, so he's able to use it. He's able to use the wolf guy to make a wolf. So that was a strong play by him. That was a good play. But here I have a slight tactical shot because he exposed his wolf guy. The focus kills it, and then now he's not gonna be able to run down my spearman because I have Awakening Stones. I didn't describe that play well. Basically, I have Awakening Stones to block his veteran's attack. And then on my next turn, my Spearman will be able to kill his totem. So he loses this board position. Oh, and then the turn after, I'm able to move my Spearman back behind the Waking Stones. So he loses this board position tactically. So he has to play some kind of card in order to protect his totem. And so I was able to, like, I guess through mistakes by my opponent, I was able to get in this position where my opponent has to play a card as an answer. And he chooses to play a Binding Root on my Spearman. So from this position, we can see the strategy of the game breakdown. So I have a Waking Stones and a Spearman. They're locked in that fourth lane. And they're also giving a defensive pocket where I put a general down. So the general's 100% safe in this matchup, 100% safe. And the general's able to exert a lot of influence on the surrounding two rows. So my game plan for this game is I'm going to use that Waking Stone and that Spearman as a defensive fortification. And from that, I'm going to defend my bottom three rows, the mid, the fourth, and the fifth row. My opponent should understand that. He should understand that. And his goal should be 100% kill that middle idol. Because the middle idol is by far the toughest idol for him to kill. The top two idols I have to defend without any use of that Waking Stone and without any use of that Spearman. So he has this strategic position where he has to try to kill the middle idol. And my opponent's slight mistake is he doesn't go all out on the mid row. And I'm able to defend the middle idol for the whole game and keep all my forces concentrated in that bottom lane. You'll see, I think stronger players will think more about how to end the game, not when they're playing aggro. Not just kill a couple idols, but try to end the game. And I guess one thing to keep in mind is, if you watched the last game I played, I basically defended my general at all costs. At no point did I risk my general in the first game against Growth. But in this game, I feel like I have to risk my general in order to put more pressure to defend that mid lane. Because I know if it goes down, then I'm in a lot of trouble. Also, it was a good tactical shot. I used his speed, and I killed a guy and a totem, and I forced him to make some kind of play. So here is his mistake, I think. He Binding Roots another Spearman, and so again he's totally writing off the bottom two lanes. They're completely written off. He has no plan to kill them. However, so he has to kill those top three idols. The question is, how does he do that? Well, he doesn't seem to have a dedicated plan to accomplish that, because what his plan should be to do is first kill the middle idol and then concentrate his forces on killing the top two idols. That would be by far the easiest way to do this. But instead, he splits his damage a little bit. He sends the Jarl up to chip the middle, or to chip the second idol rather than the mid. And I think that was one key mistake in this game by my opponent. And I think it reveals I think it reveals a mistake that a lot of players will be making in this game constantly at almost any elo, is you have to be thinking not only how do I win, or how do I kill a couple idols, but how do I actually win the game. You have to be thinking about like end game, what is your plan to actually finish the game off. And here I catch a huge break, is I need to defend that mid row, and I want to have a safe place to play my general out, which has to be played in mid. And so my alternative was play a bunch of guys out. Um, but because I top deck the Waking Stones, I'm able to simply use the one Waking Stones to defend my guys. Okay, now if you want to analyze who's winning this game, I think most people would think the growth player has a huge advantage in this game. All my guys are really immobile. The only true offensive unit that I have on the board is a general, and he's got like this massive, overwhelming force. I think that if you looked at this board position, and especially now, you would think that I'm way behind. But I, as the order player, was actually feeling very confident at this point that I would be able to win this game. Um, the reason is twofold. One is my opponent has to spend a couple more turns finishing off those top idols. So I know my opponent is not prioritizing killing idols in the correct way. I'm using my opponent's mistake against him, basically. I know that my opponent is not focusing extremely hard on killing the mid. So I know that I have a couple turns. Also, I have a general in play, and I have a fairly solid defensive clamp down on this position. So even though my opponent has this overwhelming force where he has like every single unit out on the board that he possibly could have, and I have like almost nothing, I still feel very confident in this position. Um, okay, interesting tactical shot. I could have pothered and killed any unit that I wanted to in that middle row. I chose to instead pother the Jarl away because that rampaging Jarl through my mid lane, wiping me out, would be brutal. With the pother, I'm able to guarantee he cannot play out a relentless guy in the mid lane. So he can't clean me up even with a God Hand. Yeah, even if he plays God Hand, my guy will live, or my general will live, and I'll have a Blessing of Haste, and I'll be able to do something to recover. So that's why I played the pother out on the Jarl rather than get the 2-for-1. And here, I think my opponent makes another error of judgment. He moved the wolf down. Clearly what he's trying to do, and I think he's successful this turn, is he's able to kill both of my top two idols. But my opponent's really thinking about that prematurely. He's spending basically an entire attacking phase killing off two idols rather than putting pressure on my units. And he's also kept his Jarl away from the action. Okay, there he makes a slight mistake, I think. He moved another slight mistake. He moved a veteran down. But he should be playing as though I definitely have a Blessing of Haste or a Speed. I haven't played one this whole game, and like there's no way I'm an order player and I don't run Blessing of Haste or Speed. So he should be assuming that I have one and then making his plays accordingly. Well, he played a guy directly into the line of fire with my Spearman, so for sure he's going to lose that unit when I play Blessing of Haste. And so I think that was another, like, that's a minor error, but that was a slight error. I draw another Imperial Resources, which I'm pretty happy about, and I've got this Blessing of Haste play that will clean up most of his guys. He's going to have some guys surviving, but I'm successfully able to kill the Rampaging Wolf, which I think is critical. And again, he basically because of his play last turn, his Jarl is stuck up top. His Jarl can't threaten my general, and so I have one more turn where I can play one more turn where his Jarl's not in the action, basically. And so, interesting situation. I actually lose straight up to a God Hand. If he has God Hand, I die. The mangy wolf kills the spearman, and then the veteran tramples me. So I would, or the veteran doesn't trample me, but the veteran would get in and kill me. So if he has a god hand, um, or a rally Crimson Bull, then he wins. Um, but thankfully he doesn't have it. So I think I've caught some breaks this game. Like I drew into a critical Waking Stones, Pother. I caught some breaks, but I think my opponent was making some mistakes, and you can see how close this match is. Basically, that any any kind of small error when you're playing offense, any kind of small window your opponent can get to play defensively, is critical. Okay, so I have a transposition. That's my only play right now, and I'm going to use it to defend my general. I think that this is a slight mistake because he would just kill me straight up, I think. I have to draw some kind of blocker, something. Um, I need to draw something in order to not die. Um, and I draw Pother, which was probably the best possible draw for me. I think I only had one left in my deck. Although, um, I'm going to see every card in my deck either this round or the next round. So I was likely to draw the Pother, but the Pother was huge because, again, my opponent had some slightly poor positioning with the Jarl, and then the Pother meant that he's lost an entire, um, like another entire turn where his Jarl's not contributing. And if he'd been able to play the Pother, or if he'd been able to play the Jarl down earlier, like I think he should have been doing, then his Jarl would be in my face regardless of Pother or not. So see, this 7 damage, completely wasted. And he can't use that attack from the Kinfolk Brave. So he wipes me almost completely. Like again, you might be looking at this game and you might think that I'm losing this game, um, and you'd probably be right. But I think that I have some serious compensation, even though I'm playing defensively and I hardly have any material on the board. Um, I have some options. Okay, there my draw is pretty nice again. So I'm seeing all the cards that I wasn't able to see earlier in the game, which means I'm able to draw my third Walking Stones and my third Pother. Um, especially when you play um, three Imperial Resources, you see all your cards by around turn 17 or turn 18. So I wasn't really keeping track of that, but if you are, you can keep track of like what cards you'll expect to see. And um, in this case, I have a question about what I do with Pother. I could Pother the Jarl again, potentially take a risk, 2/3 chance that it goes away again, but I'd rather kill a bird in hand. I'd rather get a bird in hand, basically. And the question is, what do I kill? I could kill the totem, I could kill the veteran, or I could kill the brave. And I make the right decision. I kill the veteran because it's putting the most pressure on the bottom lane. Um, the top 2 lanes are locked down with the Waking Stones, so I'm not worried about. Even though his brave attacks every turn, I'm not worried about it. I'm more worried about. I'm more worried about the potential veteran killing my weak link at this point in the game. So my opponent has another Ancestral Totem, and all of his attackers are looking really scary. like insanely scary right now. But he doesn't have enough mana to really make a key play where he plays out multiple cards, the same way that I'm able to do, and that I've been doing for a long time. So on my next turn, I know my Relentless guys are both going to be able to attack, and he should know that as well. It's not a spell or a trick or anything. It's just my veterans counting down. And I think he still thinks that he's winning this game, so he kind of plays out a little bit risky. And I know he's got a 10 toughness in the top row, and I do have the focus. I've been sandbagging it for a while. So I can wipe his top row with my general and the Relentless guy. The question beyond that is, what do I do with the um, what do I do with the Kabonk? I think is the big decision. I could Kabonk the Vader, or I could Kabonk the Vitality Well. And I'd choose to kill the Vitality Well, I think. Yeah, I do. So I hit the Vitality Well, and I think that's the right call. The Vader, again, I'm playing defensively. The Vader is really far out of position. It's always good to kill a Vader, but in this case, I'd rather remove one more blocker for that Great Wolf. I don't want him to have a stepping stone where he can or like any kind of defensive fortification where he can protect um, a Great Wolf and then rampage my bottom lane. I think that at this point, that is how I'm going to lose this game. So I play defensively. I play around that, and I kill the Vitality. I kill the Vitality Well, so his Great Wolf is completely exposed. The other play I made was I had a transposition, and I had a lot of options what I wanted to do with that. Um, I could I could have either saved it basically or swapped the two Waking Stones, and I chose to swap the Waking Stones. The reason was, I think at this point I have an incredibly strong Bear Claw lockdown on the bottom three rows. My weakness is he can play whatever he wants in the top rows, and they'll be safe. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to have that higher toughness Waking Stone protecting the mid, so he can't make a play like play out a Great Wolf, play out something else, and then next turn come down, kill my Waking Stone, and then rampage my guys. I knew I had to make that play, swapping the Waking Stones, and I just wanted to use the transposition immediately when I still had mana. Here my opponent moves the Great Wolf up. I don't know if this was a mistake or not. I think he's trying to run his Great Wolf away to safety, but it also might have been that he misunderstood, like he didn't realize that I had swapped my Waking Stones. So he is attacking the Waking Stone he thought had one hit point, but he's actually hitting the Waking Stone that has 3 hit points, which clearly is not good. So I have a new orders. A lot of people don't run it. I think it's really, really strong. I think it's really underrated. People, people don't like it. I think it's really a good card. And I make a mistake here with the chess. Or with the math. Know there's a possible, like especially with the new orders, it's possible for me to full wipe him, but I make a movement mistake. I already made it, but I could have full wiped him. I could have full wiped him if I played the Relentless guy. I had to play the Relentless guy behind the General, and I had to play a Royal Infantryman to attack the top lane. So I would have had 4 power in the top lane. I would have had 5 power rampaging in the mid lane, times 2, and I would have been able to kill the bottom guys with by moving my General down there and using the Vanguard. So New Orders gives you a lot of options that you're not normally able to calculate, and so I make a lot of mistakes with New Orders, but in that case I could have actually full wiped him. Instead I leave him with the Great Wolf. But you can see that this game is pretty much over, even though he has the Great Wolf. There's nothing he can draw, like plus a God Hand or anything, to kill me. So he's going to have to deal with one more of my brutal counterattacks. And unless I mess up the math or something really hard, and he has really good cards, this game is in lockdown. But anyway, I wanted to talk about New Orders. I think it's really, really good. And I run 1 copy of it, for the record. But I know a lot of people think it's like one of the worst cards in Order, and I think they have a point. If you're playing a really aggressive New Orders deck, or if you're playing a really aggressive Order deck, then it's not that good, because you generally are controlling the board anyway, and moving 1 extra is not usually worth a card. But if you're playing a defensive Orders deck, the style that I'm playing, where my goal is to build up defensively, like stay alive, and then on 1 or 2 turns wipe out my opponent. Well, New Orders gives you a lot of options to be able to do that. Like you can move guys where your opponent couldn't imagine they would have been, and then kill him. So again, I think this game's in complete lockdown. I'm just playing really defensively. I totally clog the mid row with everything. And he spends a god hand. Basically, all he gets is a vanguard out of it. Not that it's not that profitable. And I have another Imperial resource. I think that's my 5th or 6th Imperial resource. No, it's my 5th Imperial resource. I remember I sacked 1 time for resources. So my Waking Stones are full hit points again. That's good. And this game is just totally in lockdown. So I don't have anything much else to say about this game. The other point I want to make about New Orders is that it allows you to move guys who are Binding Rooted, Dryadic powered, or that are walls. So I can use New Orders to move my Waking Stones as well, which is a synergy I think a lot of people don't know exists or underestimate, because like your ability to move Waking Stones is pretty valuable. I think all those effects are worth a card, and so when you put them all together, like you can use it to have a surprise rampage turn where you just completely kill your opponent off when he didn't expect you would be able to do anything, and you can move your Waking Stones to better locations. I think the combination of those 2 factors is really cool. And this is my opponent's last stand, basically. He dumped a lot of cards. He's just trying to get stuff in play, and I should be able to wipe him, but okay, when I draw the Pother, I should be able to wipe him. This is a mistake. Again, it doesn't matter. Like, this game is so far gone that it doesn't matter. But I should pother the brother up, and then move my Vanguard down to kill it, and then put a blocker in front of the Vanguard. That should have been my play, and it would have been a full wipe. But instead, I leave him with the Brother of the Wolf. Again, it doesn't really matter because again, I have such an overwhelming lockdown on this game, but it would have been a much more efficient play. And it would have been a full wipe. Instead, I just have a Pother in hand, and it's not useful right now. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is partly because there's not much else to talk about, but partly because I want to highlight how powerful Pother is. It's a really flexible card, and I just missed an opportunity to use it, like straight up. But it doesn't matter. So I draw Blessing of Haste, and I know that's game. If I play it on the... and I have a focus, yeah. And even if you think you have the game won, you should still like draw cards anyway. It only takes about a second, and sometimes you miscalculate and you just miss killing him. So I don't think I'd fail counting to 11, but I was able to get the win there. So anyway, that's that game. I hope you learned something about it. The key things that I want you to keep in mind is when you're playing offense, even when you have what seems like an overwhelming board advantage, you need a plan to win. You need a plan to kill 3 idols. And my opponent killed 2 idols really successfully, but the 3rd idol eluded him. And you could see how it was just a tiny, tiny window, but I was able to slip in enough defenses to hold on to my mid lane because I was playing to defend my mid starting around like turn 6. Like by turn 6, I was already going all out to defend mid, whereas my opponent didn't realize that mid was the key square until like many turns later. And I think that he made a few errors that allowed me to slip that win in. So if you're playing offense, keep in mind you have to kill all 3 idols to win the game. And then I think there were some interesting tactical shots in that game as well that I hope you learned something from. So I hope you got something out of it. and I'll see you in the next video.